What's up, guys? We're back. We were gone for the Ole Miss game, but we will talk about that a little bit. But the Gators, they're back. They are so freaking back. 7-5 finish of the year, three-game winning streak, two wins over top 25 opponents, including a rivalry win over LSU, and then closing out the year with the B2A belt to ass whooping of the FSU Seminoles, who are 2-10. Pretty awesome, pretty great, and more importantly, the recruiting class, the recruiting is off the chains right now. I mean, they were mid 50s, they were below FSU. It was looking really rough. They were only ahead of Vanderbilt in the SEC in terms of recruiting rankings. And I haven't checked where they are SEC yet, but nationally they are 10th after, we're recording this Monday, December 2nd. They just flipped four-star safety Hilton Stubbs, which has just been a series of flips. They were eight guys, now they're around 23, so Topher, I'll just throw it to you. A lot has happened the past couple weeks, so I'll let you start wherever you want to start it.
Yeah, a whole lot has happened. The complete 180. I kind of want to now go back and listen to an episode from like September because all we were talking about is Billy is cooked, all the assistant coaches are terrible, all the players on the roster are terrible. The recruiting class is in shambles, and even if like I know you said multiple times, you made the very good point that keeping Billy at this point would be malpractice because the roster is not going to have enough guys. Um, and here we are. They might have the best. They might end up turning in the best recruiting class of the Billy Napier era. They finally have a winning season, regardless of the bowl game. Um, I think I said specifically a couple weeks ago. Um, when I added Billy Napier to the Billy Napier replacement hot board, um, is that for them to keep him, they had to win these three games because that proves that they've kind of turned the corner with a lot of issues they have as a program. And would you look at that? They did the damn thing. They did the damn thing. They beat a top 10 Ole Miss team at home in an insane game for the rat matter. And you know, I think we should do a proper DJ Logway bit at some point today. But can we just say, like, where did the defense come from?
It,
Like
I,
your goat Austin Armstrong put an absolute unit together kind of
I've,
on the fly, dude.
I've had to pour so much honey, bro. I'm all out. Like I have a whole storage closet just filled with it, and it's like running empty. But no, it's awesome. I mean, we talked about how just bad this defense was. And I mean, fair, they were playing some really good offenses. Like that Miami offense is, it's been sick all year. Like that's not the reason that they're 10-2 is obviously not because of the offense. And some other really solid offensive teams, but like the defense just looked terrible. And they've really, credit to them, they've really put it together and they look great. I mean, this has been one of their best defensive seasons in a long time, at least how they closed the year. And the sack numbers were insane. I mean, last year they were one of the worst teams in getting pressure, also one of the worst teams in forcing turnovers. I mean, you think about that game against FSU, that might have been more turnovers, not even forced, like recovered, than like they had all of last season. Because last season they only had three picks. I don't know how many fumbles they had. Um,
Yeah, it was bad, whatever it was.
to see this change has been really just so refreshing to see. And I guess, we didn't talk about that Ole Miss game. Um, so I kind of want to start there a little bit. We have had our qualms personally with Jackson Dart, with how overrated we believe he is, and I think that game against Florida was a big showing of that. But either way, I mean, after that performance against Georgia, it seemed like Ole Miss was kind of destined to make the playoff, and this was going to be Lane's year, and all the NIL money they spent was going to be worth it and pay off. And then Florida goes out there and just shuts Jackson Dart down. They have that final possession where he basically throws three interceptions in 3 minutes, which is pretty incredible. And then, DJ Lagway again, just he's not fully healthy and he's balling, which is insane. So I'll let you talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, the two things. So going back to Ole Miss, the two things I think stick out most of that game are how deceptive box scores are and how clutch Florida's defense is. So on paper, if you're just a box score watcher, you could honestly argue that Jackson Dart was better than DJ because he had 323 in the air, 71 on the ground, a couple of touchdowns. DJ 10 for 17, 180 yards, two touchdowns. Like it's nothing crazy. What do your eyes tell you? What do you see? And Jackson Dart and Ole Miss as a whole is very empty calories. And in that game, the amount of times they got stopped on fourth down, fourth and short. They have their admittedly very sick short yardage package where they have a 300-pound defensive tackle play Wildcat quarterback. And that's epic. And I love it. But Florida was ready. Like big Des Watson, big Cam Jackson. I think the linebackers fitted that stuff really well. They stuffed them like three times. And nobody has successfully stopped Ole Miss in those kind of short yardage situations all season. And Florida just kept making stops when they needed to in the red zone in plus territory and almost just couldn't score points. And when it comes to the box score not mattering, the thing is like DJ's numbers aren't always crazy, but he's so good. He just makes stuff happen out of nothing. And the knock-on effect of having DJ is that it's helped the running game so much. And down the stretch of that game, Montrell was good, Jaden Ball was good. They just made enough plays. And kind of like the LSU game, I think we said it after this, like Florida just got it done in a close game in a way that just doesn't happen under Billy Napier, but it kind of just happened twice in a row against top 15 SEC teams.
Yeah, I mean that's really the biggest thing, just like proof of concept. Sure, you can do it against, early in the year UCF, and you do it against a really, really bad Kentucky team. Shout out to Gerald Mincey, spot at the concession stands against at halftime when they were playing Louisville. But to do it against LSU and do it against Ole Miss, I mean, that's the real deal right there. That's who you're expected to go and do that against. And like you said, if you box score watch, then maybe you're not moved. But if you actually watch the game, what do your eyes tell you? He's a dog. He is the truth. And I think with the caliber of running back they have and what DJ does, like Florida, so much of Billy's offense is predicated on the run game. And so when you have a quarterback who can light it up like that, who can stretch the field, who can be a threat either with his legs or, throwing the ball 30, 40 yards down the field, those running backs are just going to have so much more space. And we're seeing that, like you said. So shout out to Florida. Shout out to Lane Kiffin for running a wide receiver and a defense tackle more than his running backs. So that was really cool, and that he was showing why Florida didn't really want to
I know.
hire him.
I'm gonna close the Ole Miss thoughts on that note. I think we were all correct to be excited about Lane Kiffin, but I think at the end of the day, um, nah, I'll pass. I'm good. I'm over it.
I won't pass. I'll just stow it away for give me 2 years. If in
No,
two
if
years Billy doesn't work, then I'm
no,
I'm
if
gonna be
Billy
back.
if Billy somehow blows up all this goodwill he built, I am I am I'm FFCing this thing, and oh good heavens, is Lane Kiffin not a serious football coach?
I don't care. He's fun. I'd take him. So yeah, that moves us to FSU. So 2-10. FSU stinks. Um, and to all the FSU people I'm seeing on Twitter, either talking about how Florida has no class for planting the flag, how their sod cemetery is different because it's a tradition from Florida dancing in their sideline or end zone, to them laughing at Florida fans being excited because they have a winning season for the first time since 2020. And all I have to say to that is a scoreboard. And Gus Malzahn's your new OC. Your recruiting class stinks. Hey, Mike Norvell's your head coach. All your quarterbacks stink. And again, scoreboard. So that's all I got to say about that. Topher, would you like to add anything about that game?
I would like to add the Florida State Seminoles. I believe if I remember correctly from a wonderful ESPN article, just had the second worst season to season turnaround in the history of college football. The only one, so they went from 13-1 to 2-10, which is sick. Great work. Wonderful job by everybody involved. Um, the only one worse was the Southern Miss team the year after Larry Fedora moved to North Carolina. They went from like 10-3 or something to 0-12. So Head up, Seminoles. You are better than post Larry Fedora Southern Miss.
Anytime you could say that, you have to say it. Um, and shout out to FSU. They are 53rd in the 247 composite rankings in recruiting. Um, they're not doing too hot there, and that puts them at 12th out of 17th in the ACC. So 17th out of 17th in the standings this season, the regular season standings, and 12th out of 17th in the recruiting rankings. You really have to hand it off to them. And if Solomon Thomas flips to Florida, then that's just going to plummet even more. So that's going to be really epic if that happens. But
Yeah.
you know, they got
To a
cooked.
to a Florida note from Florida State. More of the same across the board. But my favorite thing is this was a real manifestation of the great vibes this team has. This team likes each other and they like playing for Billy Napier, and they just put on an absolute show at the end of that game. I love all of it. Planting the flag, sick, hell yeah. Fighting guys afterwards, hell yeah.
I just
Uh,
want to point out that there were three flags planted. So you have the initial one by George Gums, which is incredible. And then you have, I think I couldn't totally make out the number. It's either Cam Jackson or Caleb Banks. It's one of the big guys. Maybe it's not one of them, but it's definitely like one of the defensive linemen. And they come like shuffling up and they're all ready to plant the flag and he plants it. And then Jack Pyburn off away from midfield plants one. There might have been a fourth, but those are the three that I've seen on video. So when Mike Norvell removed it and all these FSU fans are talking about how Mike Norvell wouldn't stand for that and he was going to beat up Billy. They planted the flag already. Three were planted. Scoreboard. Your
yeah,
team's two
and
and 10.
um, I don't want to speak for anybody because I know Billy is a classy guy. When he said all that stuff in the post game about like, oh, that was, that's not who we are as a program, steps, he doesn't give a shit.
In my
North
yeah, in my humble opinion, that man was lying. Shout out my
he
Twitter.
doesn't care, and he shouldn't care,
He's my
honestly.
Twitter mutual, so I could DM him. I could ask him.
Because like you see the pics of him like lighting up the cigars in the locker room, like that guy, he is soaking it all in. And you know what? Good for you, boss. Good for you.
Yeah,
You
no, he
celebrate.
does not care, bro.
Because all that stuff is so sick. It's just fun to just feel good about Florida football. Like no caveats, no qualms. Winning season, intense momentum moving into next year. Um, it's
10th
just
ranked
fun,
recruiting
man.
class.
It's all fun.
I mean, the
And then
thing too is
like,
like, or
yeah,
go ahead, go
I
ahead.
just want to close out by saying we'll talk a little portal at some point, but like shout out Justice Boone going out on a high
Showing off the moves, man. Showing off the
with that
moves.
clip. That clip in the end zone is so funny. Um, yeah, I'll let you riff on that.
Yeah, I mean, like thinking about it, to your Billy point, I mean, he could have easily done what Sark did. I mean, when Texas beat Texas A&M, he like quickly ran out to make sure they didn't plant a flag or do anything crazy on the A&M midfield logo. Like he held that, he held it down. Uh, but where was he to be seen when the Florida players were dancing, were hitting that shit in the end zone, were planting multiple flags? I mean, even when Mike Norvell was pointing and giving him the business, Billy just kind of looked like he was giving that facial expression, like, I don't know what you do want me to do about it, boss. We beat you by 20. Like scoreboard. Like it never gets old. You can't come back from that. Just scoreboard, man. Um, and so it's cool to see. It's cool to see Billy having fun, which I love. And yeah, we'll see with the portal. I don't anticipate a lot of guys. Andy Jean to claim for the portal does not surprise me, but it breaks my heart. That man was hyped up so much in the offseason by like every player and coach. I mean, Billy talked about him. Billy Gonzalez talked about him. Graham Mertz talked about him. Probably some of the other like veteran receivers. I think Ricky Pearsall even talked about him. And so I thought he was going to be big. And injuries really, they played a big part in why he didn't really play much. So that was always a big thing. But I hope he's great somewhere else. I hope he takes the Caleb Douglas route, goes to like a Big 12 school, and like just low key balls out, has a very quiet, awesome season. Um, and then
Dude,
comes back to Florida after.
he's about to put up the sickest 650 yards for GJ Kinney's UCF team next year.
He's gonna ball, bro. But yeah, that's all I have on that. Do you want to talk recruiting? Because Billy has been absolutely cooking on the trail.
Yeah, real quick, I want to close out some on-field stuff before some just absolute insane recruiting momentum the last 2 weeks. Um, so a couple weeks ago, you mentioned how the staff, the assistant coaches on this team, are very underwhelming by and large. Like we love Jabbar Jalook, we like some of the other guys, but
Will
more
Harris, the Queen's Gambit.
or less, more or less, very unmoved by the assistants. I think what we're seeing is some of the hires and additions or changes Billy made this past offseason have really worked, and really gotten a lot more out of some of these position groups. I think the two I want to highlight. So Florida does still do the two offensive line coach things, but the new assistant, Jonathan DeCoster, who came from the Browns, whatever him and Rob Sale are doing is clearly working. The offensive line has gotten so much better from start of the year to now. And a lot of the young guys look really good. Obviously, my GOAT, Bryce Lovett, is starting now. Najee Harris keeps making sick plays all the time. Um, and that's just great. Finally finding the right guys to develop these in the offensive line because next year this line's going to project pretty damn well. Most of these guys are back. And then there's more young guys that look or sound promising to kind of fill in the gaps. So very exciting. Shout out Jonathan DeCoster. And then Gerald Chapman, the new defensive line coach.
He's a beast.
He's been cooking, dude. Caleb
He's the
Banks is
one.
now like a first round level guy. Cam Jackson had another great year. All the young guys look so much better as the year developed. So, say what you want about Billy. The new hires he's made this last window so far hitting, they're hitting. So,
They are hitting. And still
and
want a
Will
special
Harris,
teams
of course.
coordinator, but that's it.
Oh,
Please, please, dear God.
you know what? Did you see they finished like third in special teams SP plus?
I did, but I don't care. I still want a special teams coordinator. Because, like I said, that's what we said though. Like, it's not about like the specialists themselves. Like, I'm curious how much of that is because like DK's a sick punt returner, Trace Mack's a great kicker, and Crawshaw for somehow, some way is a great punter. Even though I don't see it necessarily with the eye test. Sorry, Jeremy Crawshaw. But it's just
The
like a
numbers
lot
don't
of like
lie.
the procedural stuff. And it's like if Florida wants to contend, I don't want it to where it's like a Chargers situation where it's like number one offense, number one defense, and because their special teams is so bad, they miss the playoffs.
I
So
will say, we didn't really see a lot of issues
it was
with
better towards the end. It was still
it.
there was still some of it in the early going.
Definitely by the end of the season, we didn't see a lot of the really bad stuff anymore,
Yeah.
which is good at least.
But I mean that's kind of as expected though. Like I kind of want to see it solid start to finish because I mean that's how you go 4-3 to start and then however well they finished. But talking about these recruiting class, Billy is cooking. 2 weeks ago, we talked about how my biggest holdup with Billy with him staying was the fact that I thought there was momentum on the field. I thought there was a lot of momentum there, but the recruiting was just so rough, like woof. They had 8 guys. They were in the 50s. They had like seemingly no juice. Um, and give it 2 or 3 weeks later, it's a top 10 class. It's ranked 10th in the nation. They've surpassed Miami, they've surpassed Notre Dame, they've surpassed I want to say yeah, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, like all these other either blue bloods or programs that are, highly considered and just in terms of what they have in NIL resources and that sort of appeal. And now Florida's right there with them. And there's still some more flips that are rumored. Uh, but I mean the classes, it's shaping up led by 5-star wide receiver Vernell Brown, top 100 player. They have 3 top 100 players right now. Could be better, but also still a much better improvement with the flip of Hilton Stubbs today, safety, who goes to the same high school as Trammell Jones.
Yes, shout out Mandarin High School because you got Stubbs, got Trammell Jones, potentially the receiver committed to Texas, French, also a Mandarin guy. Also, I know he considered Florida earlier. I think that's coming down to the wire. Um, I believe what's the other big flip is the lineman from Florida committed to Florida
Solomon
State.
Thomas. Yeah,
Solomon
because
Thomas.
he's signing either today or tomorrow. So we'll see if anything happens with that. So I'm intrigued though. I
Yeah,
don't want
because
to, I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much for him because I got my hopes up so much for Jordan Seaton. And then he would make announcements that were like big drop coming soon. And it was just him announcing his top eight or like going on a visit to Ohio State. And then he flipped his commitment like three times. And then he went to Colorado. So we will see though.
yeah, but even just as it stands, like this recruiting class had like 8 people. And the outside of Vernell Brown and Ben Hanks, who are top 50 guys who've been or top 100 guys who've been committed pretty much the whole time, it was slim pickings. And now you look at it, even if you don't flip Thomas, even if you don't get French, even if you don't get any other surprises, you're looking at just based on the 247 rankings, because that's what I can see in front of me. Yeah, Brown's top 50, Hanks is top 60, Jaden Woods, who they flipped from Penn State, and I didn't even know was on their radar. He's a top 100 player. Stubbs is right on the fringe of top 100. I know he's like 56 in the composite rankings, so some people are really high on him. Two more top 200 players. And then you get the depth guys and the developmental guys who we've seen this staff is really good at identifying and developing. Think about guys like Jaden Baugh, um, some of the other the offensive linemen like Najee Harris are guys that the Napier staff have identified as 3 stars, whatever prospects, and then turned into really good contributors even at a young age. So you have all those guys to build up the depth, and now you're getting the top end guys, and like still got a little bit of ways to go till signing day, and then a couple months till late signing day. Still got momentum there. All signs point to a very active portal cycle as well to fill in some gaps, maybe at wide receiver, maybe at, you know, some of the line spots. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, and don't forget number two, number three kicker in the country. So kicker you, I'm declaring it, man. They've had some dogs. Trey Smack, Evan McPherson, Caleb, what was his name? Oh gosh. Oh God. What is his name? Who's the dude who played for Florida as a kicker? Caleb Sturgis. Caleb Sturgis, the GOAT on the Sugar Bowl roster. Um, nah, who else? Who else? Eddie Pinheiro. They've had some goats. They've had some real ones. But the recruiting, it's taking off. Yeah, we have some more time and to see how it all kind of shapes out in the end, and hopefully they will likely hold on to all these guys because I feel like with last year the difference was the fact that they got so many of these guys so early, and then obviously the season closed out how it closed out, and it kind of all just fell apart from there. Whereas this is like we've seen what's gonna happen and what Billy can do and what DJ can do, and now these guys are kind of rallying to him, which is really cool to see. What I'm curious about is like you said, the transfer portal because there are some notable wide receiver names entering the portal. Now, for Florida, obviously, you return likely Trey Wilson, likely return Aiden Mizell. I don't think they hit the portal. So, going off this hypothetical that they return, Tank Hawkins returns, TJ Abrams returns, Andy Jean hits the portal, and then you're losing Badger and DK because I think they both graduate out of eligibility. So, you still have a solid core, but obviously, you want some more depth. You want some guys who do a little bit different things. Um, and I mean, just looking at some of the names now, like Kevin Concepcion from NC State, seeing some other guys enter, um, we're gonna see right now. I mean, over the next couple of weeks, what the DJ effect is, because the players who played with him in year just literally year one is him as a freshman. They were sick. They balled out. Like Elijah Badger's numbers were ridiculous. Chimere DK's numbers were pretty insane. So we'll see. I'm curious to see the DJ effect.
Yeah, I think I talked about this last episode we did of, he is more of a Pied Piper than I've ever really seen from a quarterback prospect. At least I think the only comp would be like Jordan Addison going to USC to play with Caleb Williams. Like that's kind of the only comp I can think of like a guy in the portal really just like, wow, this is the quarterback I have to play with. And I think we might see some of these guys do that. Um, I hope they don't get too many. I really only want to see like one experienced, proven receiver added to this roster because I like the young guys a lot. Um, you mentioned Trey Wilson. He didn't really play this year because of injuries. I want to see him get more run. Aiden Mizell is sick. There's a lot of like even younger guys that haven't played a ton yet. Your Tank Hawkins is, guys like that. But I really want to see just at least one proven dude. And maybe it's Casey Concepcion. He was really good 2 years ago um, at North NC State. Um, Maybe it's a guy who's not in the portal yet. That's kind of who I think it is. I think it's mystery box number two. um, I don't know who that player is going to be. I don't want to speculate on guys who aren't in the portal, but I think there's a dog out there somewhere that's going to want to bump up the draft stock and play with DJ Lagway, and that's going to be Florida's like number one dude.
Don't worry, I'll speculate for you. Um, there's a man who just played with a very fraudulent quarterback. That team lost to their northern rival. And that team is the Michigan Wolverines. The school that he plays for is the Ohio State Buckeyes, and that player is Jeremiah Smith, um, who is like just phenomenal as a freshman, like one of the best wide receiver prospects we've ever seen. And Florida was pushing pretty hard for him. DJ was pushing pretty
Look,
hard for him.
it would be
He's from
sick.
Florida.
It would be sick. It would be really cool. And to be honest, if you want to get really nitty gritty about it, he is the body and player type that they need at receiver. I think they need like a proper outside X receiver because all the guys I like on the roster are like Wilson and Mizell and even Vernell Brown coming in. They're all kind of smaller, shiftier guys. Florida needs kind of like Badger, just a like a dog, just a
Yeah.
guy on the outside who is big, strong, fast, has good hands, can run a bunch of routes. And like, you are right. Jeremiah Smith is that. He's not leaving ever. If he ever
I don't
wants to
know,
leave,
man.
if he ever wants to leave before the draft in 2 years, that he's just gonna Ohio State's gonna give him an extra $1 million.
Bro, trust the Hugh Hathcock bag, my guy.
They can try, and it would be the sickest thing ever. He would immediately become Florida's best receiver, and honestly, he'd probably end up being the best receiver in school history. But um, he'd immediately be the best player in years at that
I
position.
mean, he'd be the best receiver since Percy Harvin.
Yeah,
It's
and
the last
honestly,
time I think
two
of.
years of Jeremiah Smith, if he stayed healthy and played with DJ, he would be the best receiver in Florida history.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know it's unlikely, but like, what do we know in this transfer portal era?
Dude,
Very
well,
little.
you know what? We don't know anything, and it would
I'm
be
surprised
sick.
every single day. I'm
It would
manifesting it.
it would be awesome. Maybe we just start scouting juniors with like second round grades that might come
Exactly.
back. And then that's where Jacob LaFrance needs to go spend some money.
Just drop the bag, guys. Jeremiah Smith,
Exactly.
he's out there. Let's
They
just
gotta
build the ultimate squad.
there's gotta be dudes out there because you look how good think about this offense. Just project forward. Florida offense. Got DJ at quarterback, Jaden Baugh, whatever combination of running backs are back, there's going to be like two or three more of them, and they're all going to be good. The line is pretty much all back, I think, except Dixon on the right tackle, and he's the worst one anyway, so who cares? Tight ends is going to be Hayden Hansen again, Big Tony Livingston again. Those guys are sick. Um, then you get the two fast receivers in Mizell and Trey Wilson, and just get a big old boy out there. Who's stopping that offense?
I believe, dude. That team, we're building a pretty sick team. Also, did you know that Andrew Armstrong, completely unrelated, did you know that Andrew Armstrong led the SEC in receiving yards?
No, I uh, I I didn't know that.
Embrace the Hogs, baby.
What's got he got eligibility left?
No, he's a senior, and I only know that because of my Arkansas dynasty, and he was a dog for me in that too. No, because I have the receiving stats, just receiving leaders in the country pulled up, and he's the leader in the SEC. He had more than Xavier Strepo. He had more than, let's see. I guess that's only Ty Felton from Maryland, I guess is a notable name. Jordan Tyson, 1,101 receiving yards, 10 receiving touchdowns. Gator. Can
Well,
you say Gator?
keep that Arizona State to Florida receiver one pipeline cooking.
How big? He's 6'1", 195.
He's got the build for it.
He's only
He's
a
got,
sophomore.
if he wanted to poke his head, you know, I wouldn't oppose.
What about Ja'Cory Brooks?
He kind of sucks, dude.
Okay, what about oh, he's a senior. I was gonna say Keandre Lambert Smith. Can we save Cam Coleman from Auburn?
That'd be awesome. He'd be like diet JJ Smith.
He's
Uh,
sick, dude. He's so
Now
good.
I'm looking at the receiving leaders, and there actually is a guy who's in the portal right now, but he's not what I want. So Eric
Are you talking about
Rivers
Eric River? I was gonna bring him up, but then I looked at his size and I'm like, he's
from
kind of just the
FIU.
same thing.
So as loyal podcast listeners and friends of me will know, I'm a big Notre Dame football fan as well. Um, and Notre Dame has Eric Rivers 1.0. His name is Chris Mitchell. He's another undersized, speedy receiver from FIU who had 1,000 yards. And he's like, whatever, he's fine. He does not move the needle. And I don't want to typecast or helmet scout, but Eric Rivers isn't the kind of splash guy Florida needs. Like, that's not the type of guy we're looking for. I want the guy like the surprise guy in the portal that is a stud and or like Micah Hudson in the portal from Texas Tech, who at least has the body type and the prospect profile to turn into that dude.
I'll take Micah Hudson. We can save him. Didn't Iowa also have a five-star wide receiver who didn't really play and then he entered the portal? I might be wrong. But I think that's true. Um, how about what's this guy? Alec
No,
Ayamanor.
Elic
Ayamanor.
Iomana from Stanford is a stud. I know he's kind of the player we're talking about. My imaginary player that has like a second round grade and could want to come back to be like a top 15 pick.
Exactly.
If he entered the portal, which I don't know if he will because he could have entered it last year and gotten, he would be a fun one because
I mean, can we
he's a
save him for
proper
Bird?
he's a proper X receiver. He's 6'2", 210. He's long. He's got great hands. Like he's a future NFL player for sure.
Get
Um,
that man out of Bird, bro. Can't stand it.
I know there's a lot of Notre Dame fans wish casting him in the portal. So
Please. Please free me.
oh, okay. I have one more like portal fun name. So let me see if I can find his exact
Was it
stats.
Caden Salters, the third string behind Aiden Warner?
No, it's a receiver. He was not in the portal right now, but he is exactly what we're describing. So he's 6'4", 205. He just had 750 yards
Can I
ish.
guess who it is before
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
okay, wait, finish? If you had any more description.
No, he also had 6 touchdowns. So a nice breakout season for the guy.
Okay. Can you go give me a conference?
No,
No?
it's a power conference player though.
He's 6'4". So is it fucking Caleb Douglas? Oh my I was like, wait, why does that sound familiar? Dude, I did love Caleb Douglas. He's
So
such a dog.
while we're doing this bit live, I'm realizing that Caleb Douglas is actually exactly what I described, and we already had him.
Dude, I told you he like was awesome. And like I was sad when he got hurt. That was like genuinely like an actual loss for them.
Dude, never forget how freaking good he was in that was it Eastern Washington game that Jalen Kitna played in?
Yeah. He was also sick at the end of the Utah game. That's when he made that sick touchdown
He's
catch in
actually
garbage
good.
time.
I think we gotta bring him back. We gotta move heaven and earth to bring him back. Anyway,
Caleb Douglas. I mean, dude, 3 receptions, 50 yards, 5 receptions, 102 yards against Colorado's or Oklahoma State. Dude, he's a freaking beast. He had 140 receiving yards in one game on 9 catches. He got kind of
freaking
clamped by Cincy. 1 reception for 4 yards. So as long as Florida doesn't play Cincy, we should be fine because he literally balled out in like every other game.
um yeah. Any other transfer portal notes from you?
Not necessarily. I mean, right now, I mean, the players who've entered the portal, like Justice Spoon's really the only like notable one, and even then, that's not very notable. I'd say he's really only notable because he wore number one and was a blue chip recruit, I think, and so, but didn't really play much. Kind of got buried in the depth chart.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
know a
think the
couple
other thing
walk-ons
too,
portaled, so
the
we'll
other thing
just kind of
too
wait and see.
about the portaling out guys is that it's most honestly, people need to remember like there's a settlement coming up that's going to limit roster size. And with a big signing class from high school and potentially a big portal class, like some of these guys are just they're transfers out, but there might be borderline cuts. You
Yeah.
know, they just might not have roster space for them. Um, so yeah, to your point, Justice Moon's notable because he was a guy that was supposed to be a guy. But as of now, looking at the guys out, like Andy Jean's a fun meme, and I hope he balls out. Justice Boone was a player, but other than that, it's just walk-ons and depth guys. So, and I kind of the only one that I could see changing is one of the running backs and one of the receivers.
Yeah. I mean, we will see. I don't really know who would though of those groups. So I
Like,
feel like the wide receiver who was going to do it was Andy Jean. He already did it,
I
you
like
know?
I could see a world where, especially depending on what Florida does in the portal, if they go bring back Payday Douglas, if they go get, some actual super stud, like I could see a world where like Trey Wilson transfers or Aiden Mizell transfers just because they see the depth chart and they're just like, man, no. But I don't expect it, but I wouldn't be surprised by it.
See, I don't think that would happen even if they did bring in some studs because it's like if they bring in the type of guy we're talking about, like say they bring in like in our complete fantasy land perfect dream, like they get Jeremiah Smith and like Caleb Douglas, like those are basically like your DK and um your Badger. And like Mizell and Wilson still played a lot. The only reason they really got overshadowed by those two is because they both were hurt the whole time. I mean, Wilson got surgery after like the fourth or fifth game. Um, and so I still think there's like a place for him. I could see a situation where it's guys like Marcus Burke or Khalil Jackson, which
Those
I
guys
have
have eligibility left?
no clue, but like I think so. Um, it's gonna be like the one off season where
No,
like
that's fair.
Ty
That's a
Chalkyel
good point,
Bowman entered the portal, and it was like, oh no,
dude.
not Ty,
Where's he
not
at?
him. I don't
Where
know.
is where
Marcus
is
Marcus Burke's a redshirt junior. Shout out to him
no,
making the touchdown catch on Saturday.
he's at Rice.
Did he do
Rice legend
anything?
Ty Bowman. Did he play? 125 and a score.
Bang.
He's about to play in a fun offense at the Carolina.
K-Jack and Marcus Burke are both juniors. So
Okay, so I could see one. I think that's probably more realistic than one of the actual stars, but I would expect a little bit of attrition.
yeah. The only receivers who I know are for sure leaving are Andy Jean's in the portal, our GOAT, and our GOAT Jaquavion Frazier's is gone. Even Taylor Spirito's only a redshirt junior, bro. We
No
get more
sh
Taylor we get more Taylor Spirito snaps. He had one reception for 20
Can
yards.
he go to like USF now, please?
He's never leaving, bro.
He's ready. He's ready to go play at USF. Oh, last receiver note, a guy to come in. Would it be are you rocking or no with Creed Whittemore reunion?
Um, I'm good. I'll pass on that. I saw that notification. I almost sent you that tweet, and I think I was doing something, so I forgot. Um, I'll pass on that though. I don't really need a lot of Mississippi State guys, especially him. So no disrespect to the Whittemores, but I'm
No,
good.
man. He's gonna go join Andy Jean with GJ Kinney at US or UCF.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm good on that. How about can I interest you in hold on, let me cook. Jalen Milrow, backup quarterback.
Dude, he's gonna get an NFL GM fired, bro.
It's gonna be awesome.
Oh
I
man.
mean,
You know,
yeah.
talking big picture about the portal, it's kind of stabilizing a little bit right now. I think as the house settlement happens and stabilizes further, at this point, I don't know. I kind of think it's just fun. I've accepted that college football is kind of cooked, at least in the way I knew it, and I'm just fully embracing it. You know what? It's kind of fun. It's kind of sick. I'm not
It
gonna lie.
is. I think the biggest issue I have with it is mostly just a logistical thing of for myself of like it's kind of impossible to keep up with. Especially for college basketball when you have like 365 teams and you have that kind of movement. And like with football, it's obviously a lot less, but you have so many more roster spots. Um, but other than that, I mean, it is fun. It's just the fact of like having to keep up with it can be a real pain sometimes, but
Yeah.
I guess you just kind of got to get over that part.
No, you were right. Iowa did have a blue chip receiver.
That's what I remember because I was listening to Split Zone Do and they were talking about how he's on the roster, but they weren't using him like at all because their
Huh.
passing game is what it is. And
How
there
about
we
that?
go. You think
So
they're going to get
will
any
be fun.
Nebraska guys? Florida?
Dude,
Manifest
they're
it.
they're all going to Florida State, and you know it.
Okay, but here's the thing, Nebraska's not that good. So like
But
what does
their
that mean for FSU?
but their D linemen are pretty sick.
That's about it.
That's
Their
the only guys
best
transferring.
their best secondary players are graduating.
Well, and to be fair, their big nose tackles are both graduating, I think, too.
Yeah. Jamari
Uh,
Butler said he was going to come back and now he's entering the portal.
I still believe in Husker ball. So
I'm scared of the thing that scares me the most about them is their skill positions are kind of
you want to
whack.
talk about a team that needs to go spend money on Casey Concepcion and all these guys? It's Nebraska. They need it more than
Get
we do.
Dylan Raiola some weapons.
Anyway, um, any more Florida notes you got?
Not really. We've kind of been all over the place. We started out kind of having some structure, and then we spent maybe 10, 15 minutes scrolling through the leading wide receivers and being like, what if he went to Florida?
You know,
Um,
to me, that's just great radio, though.
I agree. We're filling dead air. Um, but no, I think that's about it. I think early national signing days this week. Starts this Wednesday, and then goes through Friday. Um, so we'll probably wait till then. Then obviously we'll get some portal activity. Do you know when the bowl game's announced?
It's the same day as the playoff, which I believe is Sunday.
Through that.
So
So I
we'll
guess we'll wait till we'll do I guess we can do like a bowl game preview slash selection show or slash signing day uh show. And then see what kind of happens to that. Maybe we'll have some college football playoff thoughts when 9-3
oh,
Alabama makes it in.
I'm sure we will.
Oh God, dude, it's so cooked. It's so bad. Shout out to Joe Testore every 5 seconds being like, if Georgia scores, they're in for a guaranteed playoff spot. No good. They have to go to another overtime to see if they're gonna make
Dude,
the playoffs.
I'm gonna end my last piece is gonna be on that note, reiterating my tweet from Saturday where it's like we got an 8 overtime rivalry game between two teams that hate each other. And it's one of the most competitive games in this series in a decade. And they are talking playoff odds, bro.
It's ridiculous. It
The
makes me sick.
game is so gone, bro.
Game is
So
gone. Game's gone. Actually, you want to close it? You want to give your Heisman take? Do you want to pick a Heisman winner right now?
oh, this is a great segment. This is an actual better segment to close on. For all that is great about Ashton Ginty, and there's a lot great about him. He is pretty freaking sick. He's one of the best running backs in college football in the last 10 years. Um, I mean, you will never see Travis Hunter again. This is a one of one season. He is a top five wide receiver and a top five cornerback, probably a top one cornerback in the country at the same time, for a team that won 9 games. That is actually nuts. That's like what if Charles Woodson was actually a two-way player? That's like what if Miles Jack was good? Um, it's nuts. There is nothing like this. And to pretend like he's mid at two things and just doing both of them is just false. It's just not accurate. Um, he's so good at everything, and he should be the Heisman winner. And to be honest, most people that disagree just hate Dion, and there's kind of a weird racial undertone to a lot of the discourse, which is strange considering Ashton Jinty is also black. But people hate Dion in a way that makes me uncomfortable. But that shouldn't fall on Travis Hunter. He is so good, and that's my official take.
That's a fair take. I do not hate Dion, nor do I hate Travis Hunter or think he's mid. But I think Ashton Jetty should be the Heisman winner.
And that's
That's my
fair.
take.
That's valid.
I look at it like this. What Travis Hunter's doing is very unprecedented and insane, but I think you can say the same thing with Ashton Genty. Like, I just don't think we see running backs have these kind of numbers anymore with how the game's developed as a passing game with so many teams using, running back by committees. Like, how often do you see really bell cow backs anymore? Um, and what he's doing is insane. I mean, he has 2,300 rushing yards. If he goes off in the conference championship, and then if they make the playoffs and make a playoff run, like obviously it'll be in more games than Barry needed, but he might break Barry Sanders' single season rushing record, which is ridiculous. And as like much as like Travis Hunter's season has been absolutely ridiculous and insane, I think for me it's like Colorado went 9-3, and I still think Shador is sick. I still think they have some sick wide receivers besides Travis. Obviously, none of them are as good as him, but like they still have some players. But it's like if you took Ashton Genty off Boise State, I think that team's kind of actually like 6-6. Like I low key think if he's not on that team and it's a different running back, like they're mid as fuck. Cause like they were in like so many dogfights against like not very good Mountain West teams. And it's like they don't win that game if Ashton Genty doesn't rush for like 150, 200 yards. And obviously you could say the same thing for Travis with some of the plays he makes, but I think it just comes down to one team is 11-1, you win this title game and you're in the playoffs, and the others 9-3, and you came up short against, Nebraska. Who else? Kansas and who else they lose to? Why am I blanking on that?
They Kansas State,
Kansas State,
Kansas, and
Kansas and
Nebraska.
Nebraska.
They just hate
The
farm country
Plains. The
though.
Plains got them. Can't handle the Plains.
No, to your point though, I am so super impressed with Ashton Jinty. And I think the coolest thing is that for the first time in a while, this is a Heisman race where there are two deserving players, and I would be perfectly happy with either of them. And the other coolest part about that is that those two deserving players are a two-way player at 9-3 Colorado and a running back at Boise fucking State. That is sick.
We survived the Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel mid off, and
Dude,
we got cinema.
if they were pushing one of those two guys, I would so violently campaign against it. It would be crazy.
It's tough, man. It's tough out here, but we survived.
With that
So
being said, congratulations, 2024 Heisman Trophy winner Lenora Sellers.
yes, give it to DJ, man. So inspirational. So yeah, I think that'll do it for this episode. Anything else you want to add? Close it out on, or we good on that?
No, I think this was a long, winding one, but
It
honestly,
was.
it's a good time. It's a fun time. It's a fun time to follow Florida college football. One of the fun things going.
Oh yeah. Actually, wait. No, this is actually where we're gonna close it on for real. Right quick before we close, prediction right now, bowl game matchup in bowl.
Ooh, see, I don't remember what the standings are, so I'm just gonna kind of go off hip what I
Hey, just go with
remember.
vibes, man. It's
It's
all
gonna
vibes.
be it's gonna be the Gator Bowl against the Duke Blue Devils.
Okay, I'll go Gasparilla Bowl against Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
That'd be fun.
That would be
I
fun.
Give me the Huskers though, somehow.
I
But
want it. I want it so bad, but I don't know if it'll like if there's a matchup possible that can cause that.
anyway,
But
I'm
we'll
very
see.
excited for this bowl game, and we will have some fun talking about that one when it
Oh
hits.
yeah, it's gonna be a movie. All right, that has been another episode. Again, scoreboard, FSU fans, your team's 2-10. Thank you for listening.